I had a great 2.5 day weekend so far. It's going fantastic. I'm trying to suppress the idea of going back to work tomorrow, though.
3, 2, 1.
All right. What are we doing? Sorry.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and welcome everybody back to another episode of Server Restart In. It's a weekly World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players get together to discuss their thoughts about the current state of the game. My name is Jim, joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hi.
So it's been a week since
It's been a week.
It's been over a week, I guess, since the announcement for Dragonflight.
Yeah, did we talk about that?
Oh, we talked about it.
I don't remember.
We talked about the reveal and the deep dives and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
There's been, several interviews and whatnot done afterwards. I think Brian and I both listened to the Twitter Space thing, which I didn't know was a thing.
I tried. Mine
yeah,
kept failing, but yeah.
Which was basically it was Denuzer and
Ian
Hazakastas or whatever.
Yeah.
They had, and basically it was Taliesin asking them a bunch of questions, about stuff, which, they seem to expound on a bunch of things, that really felt like, that we're getting things done and they're working towards what we all feel is the right, direction for the game. And, they talked about the borrowed power, not the borrowed power. Borrowed power stuff, and about how, these new talent systems and stuff like that are intended to kind of replace that, so that, it's like you do get more powerful and all that stuff, but it's something that will be more persistent, as opposed to you build up your power system and then the next expansion you drop it and start over. That kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of stuff out there that feels like they're genuinely trying to do some stuff that is good for the game and is a good direction that I guess the majority of players want. Not necessarily the vocal majority, because it is a different breed altogether. But just overall in general, just for the good of the gameplay, and it's just, I still am really excited about it, because it seems like it's just something new. It's like we're getting
Different. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That's the most exciting part about it.
Is that it's back on Azeroth. They're kind of overhauling the game stuff, which I guess is something that they feel that they have to do every 8 to 10 years, which kind of makes sense. It's like systems do get stale. It's like we've had these talent systems, since Mists, I think, is when they switched over to that.
Yep.
So, started reading some of the old Warcraft novels again. Just to kind of, just the fact that this expansion is going to be based around, the dragons and all that stuff in the Dragon Isles. There's so much lore out there that just a lot of people don't even realize around the dragons, the Dragonflights, where they came from, how they got their powers, all that stuff. And it's just like, I'm like, this is a good time to go back and start rereading all the Warcraft novels that go back all the way back to the first one, which was for Blood and Honor or whatever, which I'm reading it. I've read it before, but I'm reading it again, and I'm like, okay, I vaguely remember all this stuff, but it's basically Tyrion Fordring and Edric, and it's after the First War, I think. But like, it just shows that, you know, like they have a run in and all that stuff, and like it really challenges his perception of orcs in general, because you know at that point there wasn't the bloodlust and Etrigan and all that stuff, and you know like there was like honor and all that stuff. So it's like, and they were talking, and he's like, how can this guy even talk? It's like they've always been just like these crazed creatures and all that stuff, and it's just like, you know, he gets found out because he's protecting him, kind of, and that gets him excommunicated from the Knights of the Silver Hand, which is crazy because later on he's the freaking High Lord, or whatever you want to call it, the leader of the Paladins, you know, and it's like, I'm sitting there going, shit, I remember there was a quest line where you have to go bring Tyrion back because he kind of just, he gets excommunicated. He saves Etric from being executed. Thrall shows up to rescue him as well. You know, that's when he first meets Thrall, and the new horde is being formed at this time, you know, which is completely different than the original horde. So this must be after the Second War then. Maybe. I'm not sure. But like, I just remember like, it's Eastern Plaguelands or something like that, and you walk, yeah, it had to be Eastern, because you go up the river towards a cave where there's this guy just living there, and he's like wearing all like this leather and stuff, and it's Tyrion, and you do all these quests for him and stuff like that, and you have to, I don't remember if you bring him back before Legion. That doesn't make sense. It'd have to be sooner, because he was at ICC.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it had to be maybe during Wrath, or maybe it was just all just vanilla stuff, you know, and it was just, but like, I'm like, man.
I don't even remember when he comes into play during Wrath, though. I know you have to do stuff in Ice Crown leveling up with him.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know. It's probably a vanilla quest, because it's probably built into vanilla, but it's just like, you're reading this book and you're just like, it's just so, this is the part, and I think we've all talked about this, about just how much interesting shit is out there that's not tied into the game. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a great backstory for like that quest line and all that stuff, but it's just like, it's not accessible. You know what I mean?
So this says that he committed himself to refounding the Order of the Silver Hand. The result was the Argent Crusade. So was he a part of the effort for Naxxramas in Classic then?
He might have been.
Is that where he comes into play?
It could be. It's probably part of the Eastern Plagueland stuff to unlock and open up the Argent Crusade and all that stuff. Because I don't remember if the Silver Hand was probably decimated by Arthas, because he killed Uther, right? And that probably kind of broke the order, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of information out there that's just kind of like missing that I haven't read in a while. So it'll be neat to kind of go through that, you know, walk down that road again. I started the second book, which is Day of the Dragon, and it starts off with Varisa Windrunner meeting Ronan. I'm just like, man, I recognize that name. I'm like, oh yeah, he's the guy that got killed by the mana bomb.
Yeah.
You know, that Garrosh killed at Theramore. You know, and it's just like, and Day of the Dragon is the part in the WoW lore where, you know, the Kirin Tor are just kind of like watching stuff, and like, when they have like their high council meeting in the beginning, they're like, oh, we think Deathwing's around because a bunch of shit got whatever. And like, but we killed Deathwing. It's like, well, and there was really a body, you know, and it's just like, well, we want to keep an eye on the dragons, or not the dragons, but the orcs in Khazmodon or whatever that are creating the dragons, because they have Alexstrasza, locked up and are using her to make more dragons for the dragon riders. And the one guy's like, well, we can send this guy who's like kind of a screw up, and it's just a sit there and watch meeting or a mission where you're just kind of scouting out. And then the one guy tells him, like, yeah, you have to go free Alex Straza. And I'm like, okay. And like, you don't know who this person is, like, because like they're all mysterious or whatever. I have a feeling it's probably Calicos, if I had to guess, only because, a mysterious mage. I know he was in there, but I don't know. It's just neat to see all these characters that we used to run into, even if they're not in the game anymore, just to kind of see them fleshed out, and it's just.
I'm so obsessed with Tyrion. I've been trying to. I'm catching up between the classic and BC, but basically, you do a bunch of quests after he finds out that his son Talon had joined the Scarlet Crusade, and then at some point, whoever is torturing him and kills him, and he vows to reform Silver Hand, which is the Argent Crusade, and then joins folks in Light's Hope Chapel from there. That's classic era.
So his son joins the Scarlet Crusade, or gets captured by them and tortured and killed?
So he's joined the Scarlet Crusade and even became a High Lord of that order. Something about a memento. Grand Crusader, Death, Rahan, who sent Asilian to kill the Forge Rings. He sent assassins to kill Tyrion. They were unsuccessful. They rushed to Hearthglen, where he witnessed Asilian killing Talon. Okay, yeah, so he was a part of the Scarlet Crusade, but then somebody was sent to kill him because he was a forger.
Probably the one of the Dreadlords, because I know there was a Dreadlord.
Oh, let me double check. Yeah, because that's a funky name.
It's so interesting when you look back at like all the stuff that happened, and then you're like, you put it in the context of like Shadowlands, and now we know the Dreadlords are out there just doing stuff, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Annoying.
It is kind of annoying. Yeah.
I think it's annoying.
It's a way to retcon a whole bunch of shit. But
it's a backdoor to a storyline.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But the thing is, though, is that the Dreadlords were doing that. They were doing it all along.
Well, sure, but
like it wasn't like
we just found out that they are like doing it nonstop everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
but
it's
definitely a way to,
because I know
hey, by the way, all of that shitty shit that happened, that was a Dreadlord.
Dreadlords.
Dreadlords. What you gonna do?
Just Dreadlords.
Just Dreadlord stuff.
We need a
t-shirt. Hashtag
we need
just
a t-shirt.
Dreadlords. Just Dreadlords.
Okay. But
that'll be our first t-shirt, Jim.
Hashtag just Dreadlords.
Just Dreadlords.
Just Dreadlords.
Yeah. No, but like we know that they were involved with the Scarlet Crusade because like there was all the quest in Northrend. My God, I can't talk.
So I think the underlying thing that's really important is they can't just appear and then take over, right? And they could take the place of someone by killing them unknowingly, then take their form and take over, right? But they're not going to be able to just create a person and then insert themselves into a process. So there's still at least a little bit of build up there.
Are you sure about that? You sure they couldn't
show anyone sane enough, I guess, is not necessarily going to be like, oh, hey, I don't know you. You're new here, but I trust you for whatever reason. Here you go. Here's all the stuff.
They obviously, the Dreadlords have been playing the long game, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing to say that they couldn't create a person, just whatever, and just show up somewhere and then just kind of worm their way in and to like worm your way in is one thing, but just completely hostile takeover in a very short period of time, I don't think so. No, I don't. The only way they could do that is if they were to, like you said, replace somebody, which wouldn't be beyond them. You know what I mean?
No, I bet that's more often than not. That's probably what it was, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
I'm trying to think because I don't remember it. Like, because there's the Archbishop in the Scarlet Crusade, dude. I don't know how long he had been a Dreadlord. You know what I mean? It's like he could have been that way for a while. He could have just taken it over. But that's the thing too. Is like if you take over for somebody, super quick. It's like you had better have it down how they are and how they behave and what they say, because there will be people that will notice. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I know that they were involved in that. I don't remember. I mean, what? There was what? The sacking of Lordaeron? No. What the fuck am I talking about? The fucking one where the time walking one where you go through strat live strat, calling a strat.
Oh.
But Arthas knew the demon was there, and he was following the demon anyway, because that's the last boss.
Right.
You know, so I don't know. Like, there are times when they were not hiding. You know, like there was the 3 that Sylvanas fought, or that were like the lieutenants of Arthas kind of thing. And then Veramalthus was, you know, whatever. Oh, that was another thing too, reading the Sylvanas book, when they talked about when they took over, when what the fuck was his name? Not the alchemist, the plague dude. And
Putricide?
was it
Putris.
And Veramalthus took over Undercity. It's like, man, I remember doing that quest to go back and take it back. It's like it was you and Sylvanas and Thrall.
Yep.
And was there somebody else? Was there somebody from the Alliance? Or was it just all... There might have been. Maybe Jaina went. I don't remember fully, but like you had to go in and like you couldn't go down the elevators because there were spikes at the bottom.
Yeah.
And Thrall had to use the winds to lower you down safely and all that stuff. And, you know, it's just like, man, I remember doing that. It was so cool to like have that part happen. And it's like, if you think about it, she really wasn't responsible for the Wrathgate at all. But like it got pinned on her a lot, you know, and it's just like, I think we had talked about that too, didn't we? Where we thought maybe she kind of knew, and we talked about this before the book came out, about how, you know, maybe she really had planned on that all along because she was trying to find a way to kill Arthas and all that stuff, and that, you know, maybe the attack at the Wrathgate with the Blight was, she knew it was going to happen. Now, I guess she did know it was going to happen, but like it wasn't, I guess, her intent to kill everybody per se. But I don't know. Like, but that guy definitely was hostile takeover material. And I think she kind of knew it because of the way he treated her. It became less and less respectful. So let's see what else has been going on. I will have to say that I don't know if this is related to the news of the expansion, but both of you have been playing the game a lot more.
Ha!
I leveled my paladin from 52 to 60 Thursday evening and Friday morning.
I just wanted to be able to use the corpse fly on my druid. That was what started me doing it, because the corpse fly is such a cool looking mount and I don't play Necrolord, yeah, on my druids. So.
Right, but you were leveling your priest.
I am leveling my priest right now, as a matter of fact.
And you were looking at, you know, going through the story and all that stuff, and then decided to try out the Threads of Fate.
Yeah.
Know?
Oh, yeah. Threads of Fate is way better than it was. I remember when
it's so quick. Holy shit.
It's so quick. Like, remember when I first started with Threads of Fate, I was playing my Warlock, and I was like, this is painful. It is terrible. Remember, Brian, I remember you and I had that conversation. Like, it is so slow. Doing the objectives is so slow. It takes
seemed like it
so
took forever.
long. Oh my God,
dude,
it's terrible.
I did four separate pulls with my paladin. Now, they were big pulls.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent like $100K and got all my heirlooms upgraded.
Yeah. Because
you get the bonus to your rested XP for longer. So instead of like 2 levels, it almost equals 3 levels or something like that. So I got all him up to date, and I got my item levels standardized instead of like sitting at like under 100 for several levels, which was weird. And then I went out and started mass pulling shit, 4 pulls, and I was done with one of those area quests.
Yep.
And so I went and did all of those in about less than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
In an area, and then boom, I was like done. I got 2 or 3 of the primary Threads of Fate quest lines done.
Yeah.
Instantly, and then a few of them, like the Night Fae, I actually had to quest.
Yeah.
For probably about 20-30 minutes to get it finished up.
Yeah.
And by that point, when I got all that stuff done, I was at 59.5. I did my battleground and whatever the remaining quest was, I think Torghast.
Yep.
I was at 59.5. I ran 1 dungeon and I was 60. It was crazy.
Yeah, I'm at 59 points. I'm at 66% into 59, and I still have I just started Bastion, so I'm doing the Bastion stuff right now. So I'm pretty sure I was 51 or 52.
You were a couple levels in
when I started it. Yeah. But I've been like, and I knocked it out so quick, and I'm playing a Shadow Priest, so it's not, and I've just been doing the actual gear, so I'm at like, my item level is like 129 right now. It's not great. I don't have any heirloom gear or anything like that on her. It's just the standard gear that you're getting from doing the stuff. But it's, so, I have to be conservative with my pulls. I, make judicious use of mind control. I love mind controlling shit. Like, not even gonna lie, it's one of my favorite things to do. And it's fun.
So, yeah, and you are mind controlling things too, and I'm like, I really feel that Torghast helped with that, because we were talking about that, because you had just done
a Torghast
run.
Yeah, and I'm like, I forgot. I haven't played my Shadow Priest, in a long time, and I used to main a Shadow Priest, and I loved it. But then my Druid took over, and I love my Druid a little bit more. So I'm like, but it felt weird not having this character at max level, because she's been my main for, up to in Wrath. What was after Wrath? Sorry, not Wrath.
Cataclysm.
Warlords. Nope, in Cataclysm. Warlords. She was my main. And then after Warlords, what was Mists, right? Mists was after Warlords.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, was Mists after Cataclysm?
Yes.
Okay, so Mists, then Warlords, then
Legion.
Okay. And Legion was my Druid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah.
That's when you started your Druid? Is that what you're saying?
It's not when I started my Druid, but it's when my Druid became my main.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. But that's the thing, too, is we were talking about how when you do Threads of Fate, you can go do Torghast runs immediately. They're not as tough as if they were at 60.
They were still pretty tough.
Right, but I'm saying, like, they're not scaled as tough. Plus, there's a week or a daily quest that gives you a shit ton of XP.
Is it a daily quest?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I haven't been doing it. I should have done it. Well,
it's the daily quest gives
I didn't know that either.
Once I finish this zone, maybe I'll go do that, and that'll put me to 60.
Yeah, you take the quest, you go do one run, you get a decent chunk of XP from doing the run, and then you turn in the daily, and boom, there you have it. It's a shit ton of XP. It's probably almost a level of XP.
Oh my god!
I did the first one just to open it up.
Yeah, I did
the first
too.
one just to open it up,
yeah.
And it was so painful, I didn't do it again.
Mine wasn't bad. It just required me to when I run in on my Druid, I just run in and Moonfire all the things.
That's what like.
It was
for me. It was just like I didn't want to be there, and I was running through it as quick as I could.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I had no problem doing it. I like it, but the thing I was getting to or alluding to is that the way the power stuff is set up in Torghast, it granted it's random, but which buffs you're going to get to which powers and all that stuff, but it forces you to look at your toolbox for your class and use things that are typically not outside or not concurrent
Things that you
with
don't
your
necessarily use. Yeah.
spec. Right. And
Which
like
is cool.
technically, I guess Shadow Priest would use mind control
yeah,
and all
yeah.
that stuff. But like, if you haven't played in a while, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I have this ability.
Yeah.
But like, I mainly run a Frost DK, so it's just like, okay, well, they're giving me powers to boost friggin' Death Coil, so I guess I could use it. Now, in a normal setting, you won't use that because
Right.
you don't get any of that buff. So same thing with like Death and Decay, Frost, Death Knights. I don't know. If you're using Death and Decay, I don't understand why. It seems like a waste of resources to me. But, and maybe that's why I'm not the best Frost DK out there. I don't know. But it just, if it's like a class you haven't played, like I'm doing a shaman right now, leveling a shaman up, you know, just all of my characters leveling up. I did paladin, you know, recently and all that stuff. It's just like, it kind of exposes you to some more of your toolbox, and just, even if it just gets you thinking, it's like, oh, well, what else do I not have on my bars that maybe could be useful in situations? You know, it's like, it's a good way to get back in touch with the class and how it works.
I would like to say that making it easier to level your alts, had they done that at the beginning, it probably would have extended my playtime. Only because the leveling is a pain in the ass, right? Especially at the beginning of an expansion. Leveling is a pain in the ass. Getting through it and then having to get geared up. If I had done that and then throughout, I would have been like, oh, let me go do LFR on this character every once in a while. You know what I mean? It would have extended my playtime. So this method that they were and use in every expansion, because let's face it, this is what they do in every expansion. They make it hard at the beginning and they make it easier in the middle and at the end so people can play catch up. Had they just done that at the beginning, it would have extended my time playing, because I would have had these alts that I could mess around with and play more. And that just kind of goes back to my, don't make things harder to do in order to artificially create playtime for people. Just make a fun game so you want to play it. You know what I mean? Like, don't do all this stupid bullshit where it's like you're tricking people into resubbing, right? Just make a game people want to play. And then they're going to resub because they want to play it.
So
I
think at the beginning, what it was is they had Threads of Fate in the beginning, right? For all.
Sure, but it was shit.
Right. But I don't think that they had necessarily thought through all of that, because I don't know if that was really tested. You know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, here's the thing you're going to do. You're going to be able to pick your covenant right away, you know, and they were trying to find that balance point, because you don't want to just basically give them essentially a free level 60 boost. You know what I mean?
Well, no, you still have to go and do stuff, but
I know
you know, I don't know. It seems
It's really good. It's really good right now, and honestly, I don't want to say it's too fast, but it does feel a little too fast.
It feels very fast.
I took a level 1 character. I made a paladin and leveled all the way up to 60 and got through all the way through the story in Zereth Morns and got my second legendary in 24 and a half hours.
Yeah.
Playtime.
Yeah.
So it's fucking fast. Now that's...
But the point of the game isn't really to level. Like, I know it should be because it's an MMO and you should be, like, you know, the journey, right? But let's face it. WoW is an end game. It is not a journey game. It's a game where you get to end game and you raid, or you do Mythic Plus, or you do whatever. When the game really starts for you when you hit max level. And whether or not, you know, you can argue whether or not that should be. I mean, everybody wants different things from their game, but as it is right now, that's what the game is.
I think part of that too is that back in the day, alts were not common because it took so long to get to 60.
Yeah.
And, you know, they made it easier for people to make alts. and then it was real easy to make alts, and then it was not easy to level the alts and all that stuff. So it's just like you're catering to this whole thing where, it's like putting it so that, people don't necessarily put in a lot of, maybe not thought, but like a lot of importance on the character that they pick. It's like, it used to be, it's like, I'm going to be a warrior or I'm going to be a warlock and that's what I'm going to do, and it's like, that's what I want to do. And like, usually you'd have to catch it pretty early on if you wanted to switch and all that kind of stuff. Now it's just like, I'm going to be whatever because I can get everything up and geared and all that stuff really quick. And, there's no kind of player character permanence anymore. And to me, that's, you could just take away the MMO aspect of it and just make it so that you just, it's just pick a player, and like put your quarter in and pick a player and start the game. And, and it's like,
Right.
I don't want it to get more towards that arcade thing where your character and your class and all that, those choices aren't important.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to balance because they've made it so that it's easy to bounce around. It's easy to, I don't really like how this character plays. I'm going to go make another character, and it's just like, I'm going to make a different one. And, it's like, but I get that sometimes it takes a while or, again, if they make changes to something that doesn't sit well with, you and like, I don't like the changes they made to this. I'm going to play something else, that would be fairly punishing to do. So it's like, it's a weird thing to balance, but I don't know. I like having alts because I like to play through and see all the other story things, especially like Legion was fun to go through and, go through all the class hall stuff and just see all the different parts of the story. That kind of made sense to be segregated. The Covenant stuff, I understand why it would be because everything's happening concurrently and you wouldn't necessarily know what's going on over in Ardenweald when you're focusing on Maldraxxus because it's all kind of happening at the same time. But there was a lot of stuff that felt key to the main overall storyline that wasn't necessarily available to a specific Covenant choice. So that kind of felt, but I don't know. I'm just going to keep playing and leveling Death Knights. So, and I'm mad now because now I can't have a Death Knight of every race. So, once 10.0 comes out.
Yeah.
That'd be an ugly Death Knight, though, wouldn't it?
It'd be a dragon Death Knight?
At some point, though, you will be able to, right? Because didn't you say that they're exploring?
Okay. Yep. So that is something
You're welcome.
I don't know if we talked. I didn't remember if we had talked about this.
No, I don't think we did.
But there is. So they had a. Let me see if I can find because I want to credit this to the correct persons. So Mr. GM interviewed Brian Holinka. And so they were talking about new class race combos and all that stuff. And Holinka had said that they have this overarching goal to basically work on that. And they didn't want to make any promises, but they're wanting to move to a point where your race isn't a limiter for what class they can be. So, basically, so that it's not like when you wanted to be a paladin, you had to be like alliance. Now that's factions, like way back in the day, like shamans were only trolls and orcs, and paladins were only humans and dwarves, right? And then they added that, but then you could still only be a paladin if you were a blood elf, right? When Horde got paladins, it was blood elves, right? And so you had to be a blood elf if you wanted to be a paladin.
Yes.
Then they added in Tauren. Eventually, like that might have been Cataclysm when they added Tauren.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And all that stuff. And then they added like trolls to be able to be druids and all that stuff because it could only be Taurens for a while, but they're working towards that. So at 10.0, when that launches, rogues, mages, and priests will be available for all races. Now, obviously, this excludes Drakthir, because Drakthir and Evoker are not counted in that. But people are already saving names for their Tauren rogues. I've seen a lot of people post Invisible,
That's pretty funny.
which is pretty good. But yeah, so you'll be able to have your sneaky Tauren rogue. So they're kind of working towards that.
Yeah.
Now I don't know how that's. I think that's going to be.
Janai Druids. Woo!
That could
Dragon Druids.
Well,
Woo!
that would probably
I
be
think
later.
Druid probably would be the last one that they would do because they have to come up with all kinds of new forms for them. You know?
That would be kind of a
Labor intensive. I get why they didn't do it because it is a lot of work to be able to do that, but it still kind of sucks because, you know, I wanted to have all kinds of druids. That would add to my playtime, you know, and if that's the metric that they're going by as far as, you know, people having fun, then,
well,
you know.
I think eventually we would see Drakthir open up to other classes. I think it would be way down the line because, I mean, they didn't open up Death Knights to other characters until Shadowlands, and that was, you know, 10, 12 years after Lich King came out, you know, and so if you go by, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, I mean, it's an interesting concept. You know, I don't care one way or the other. You know, I would really think it would be cool if, like, Drakthir, if they were Death Knights, if their dragon form was like a skeletal dragon. I still want to see that be a thing.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool.
Instead of it being just like a normal dragon, like if they just became like a Cindergosa type thing, that would be fucking amazing, you know. But one can hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see what else. Let's see. There's the meme going around or whatever about what sword, because everybody keeps asking about the Sargeras' sword, you know, to the point, you know, and they've come out and said, it's like, we haven't forgotten about it. It's still there. It's going to tie into something at some point in time. There is a story around that, and that will come when the time is right for that part of the story. But it's just funny, like,
I mean, at least they acknowledge that. That's, you know what I mean? That's nice.
Apparently Asmongold asked him about it and all that stuff, and Ian Hazukawa is like, wait, what sword? You know, it's like, so like they're it's tongue in cheek. They're acknowledging that it's there and that it's gonna eventually be taken care of.
I have to say, I haven't watched the interview, but now that you reminded me about it, I need to watch it. But I think it's actually really cool that they did have an interview with Asmongold, because historically they've treated him very badly in the way that they've interacted with him, in the fact that he really loves the game and he really wants the game to be better. And sure, maybe his criticism is, he's very blunt about his criticisms, but that's what the game needs, is that bluntness, because, you know, people just sit there and laugh about shilling and blah, 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 but it's an echo chamber, right? Of people like, oh, no, the game is fine, it's fine, and it's not. And there are things that do need to be addressed, and
I understand that there are things that need to be addressed. I don't like the way I don't like his suggestions. I don't like the way he thinks the game should be. Right.
And that's fine. That's okay. You can have your own suggestions for that as well. But the fact that he's trying to come up with things, you know what I mean, is if other people did that instead of just being like, oh, no, it's fine, whatever, you know, it's fine.
The way he handles himself and the way that his fans, and regardless of whether he's not responsible for all that, you know, bullshit, it's like, I mean, whatever, I don't give a shit. I don't like his attitude about stuff. I don't like the way he says things should be. And all stuff. And so
that's fine. This isn't really a, you know what I mean? It just, my main point was that there should be criticism of the game, and they should talk to the people who have that criticism, because that's where they can get some ideas from. You know what I mean? These are people who love the game and see problems, and then I'm not just talking about him, but other people as well. The criticism should be taken seriously. You know what I mean? I mean, now obviously there's some criticism that's really ridiculous, right? You know, but
No, I know, and it's like I don't care that, you know, they interview him. It's like, whatever, it's fine. It's fine to have dissenting voices, and it's fine to acknowledge that there are other people that are critical. And yes, you should talk to people that are critical, and you should let them ask questions and all that stuff. And, you know, that's for them to deal with, and that's fine. You
I will
know?
admit that I watched his interview, and like, I don't hate the guy, but like, he used to feel a lot more cringe than he does now. And I don't know if like he made a concerted effort to do some form of change. I don't know if it was like really bad before. Like, to me, I didn't necessarily like it, so I didn't pay attention to him. But I did like watch that interview, and I was actually pleasantly surprised.
I think he got older. Honestly, that's what I think it is. He got older, and his priorities changed. In the, you know what I mean? And you know, I used to not really, way back when, not really like watching his stuff, but I watch his stuff now, and it's, you know, he brings up some pretty valid points from a more casual perspective, because everybody, the more hardcore people have their voices heard, right? They're the ones who get into the beta tests. They're the ones who get into the alpha tests. They're the ones who, you know what I mean? They're the ones who Blizzard goes to and, you know, oh, hey, how's this? They're basically QA, you know? But the casual people like us, we're lucky if we get into the last beta run. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're lucky if we, you know, and
other than the one we paid for that year.
Other than the one that we paid for that year, yes. You know what I mean?
Was that Mist?
Cataclysm. Wasn't it Cataclysm? Like from Cataclysm into Mists, maybe?
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, there was
as
one
long as
though.
you had the 6 month sub, right? When you got Diablo 4, 3 or 4. I can't remember what one they're on now, but
it was 3.
you got
it was a year. It was a year sub.
Yep.
You got Diablo 3 for free.
Yep.
And you got the Tyrael Chargers mount.
Yes, I love that mount. I still love that mount. It's a really pretty
I
mount.
I have a problem with people acting like they're experts on something just because they play a game. And it feels like with him that he comes from a...
Is that us by accident then?
Yeah, I mean... No. Because we're not experts by any stretch of the imagination. We are not.
I don't know. It feels like he's... I don't consider us any type of authority on anything. Yeah. We have our opinions, and there are opinions, right? I feel like he... And I don't know, I don't watch his stuff, but everything I've seen, and again, this is from the past or whatever,
right?
It felt like he was presenting himself as like an authority on this, and it's like, no, you're just a player that really likes the game and doesn't like what they're doing to it, and that's fine, but don't act like you know better than other people. You know, it's like the way it comes off with him, or it used to me, and this could just be my own personal hang up or whatever, was that he was telling you what was good for you and what you should like and what you should want to see from this game.
Right.
From some point of self-proclaimed authority. And it's like, whether it's because he's got these big followers and all these people just harp on his opinions and all that stuff. And, you know, it's like, you know, what, I don't know. Regardless, I'll probably watch the interview because I'm sure he asked good questions.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and maybe the questions got answered in a way that don't necessarily agree with where he thinks it should go or not. I don't know. But, I mean, it's not bad stuff. I mean, he did... So, okay, one of the things he did ask, you know, and that I did, you know, read some transcript on is about, you know, what are you talking about? add-ons, the relevance of add-ons and stuff in the game. And he asked, Ian about it, and Ian's like, yeah, we don't want to completely shut things off. We don't, but like we want them to be informative, not calculative and all that stuff. Cause like, it was like, they talked about the add-ons that, they used in Lich King.
Oh,
and
yeah,
all that
yeah,
stuff that
yeah.
would draw stuff on the
Yeah,
ground. And
remember
all that stuff.
that? Remember that add-on?
I never used it.
I had it downloaded once.
I think,
but I never actually used it because we were so casual and nobody else did it.
right.
So
and that's kind of the thing is like, you don't want add-ons to play the game for you.
Right.
Like, and they brought up a specific thing with the Blood Queen Lanethil, right?
Yeah.
You don't want an add-on that's going to generate a list of bite priorities based on DPS and not have to talk about it.
Right.
And just have everybody has the weak aura and you just bite people in order based on whatever. It's going to calculate it and tell you how to play the game.
Did they really have that?
I don't know if
Because I mean, you could
I think it was
you
an
could just
example.
look at your damage meter and see, right? Like
right, or you could just not worry about damage meters and have a raid leader call it out, because that's another thing too.
Well-
It's like you don't want it to be. It's like when you start to make things.
the problem with that is they make things where you have to worry about DPS because they have the berserk timers and they, you know what I mean? Like, gone are the days where we could do the safety dancing with a tank and a healer and everybody else is dead. Like, God, we used to do that. Everybody else would be dead. We had people who would go take smoke breaks and they would die early and then just go get coffee because they were shit at the fight and they knew they were going to die anyway. So once they died, we didn't even bother resing them, and we did the safety dance and we whittled it away and we had a tank and a healer.
Right.
I miss that.
It's like, yeah, he talks about it. He said it was a simple. This is Ian talking. He said this was a simple fight, couple mechanics, almost patchwork level, but the one signature mechanic was got to turn into a vampire by the people so you don't get mind controlled. Yeah. He's like, and he said back in the day, I as a raid leader anyway, I think most people kind of called that out on the fly. You have some rough sense of these are our top DPS, bite the healers last, see what happens, and it's fun. And you have frantic call-outs, and it could be hard. Sometimes you wipe because you had to go from 8 to 16 people, or 8 to 16, and people got confused. I don't understand that. But it's like, it's like you can guarantee. It's like he says, I can guarantee that when Wrath Classic Lanethil comes out, it's gonna be get a weak aura, list the people in your raid from top to bottom in terms of DPS, and everyone installs the weak aura. And when you come, a vampire is gonna say, bite this person. No one has to speak. No one has to do anything. That's not great all around, and it doesn't feel where we want our raid encounters to land. And in some ways, it stops us from doing cooperative mechanics in coordination that's fun.
The problem with cooperative mechanics, though, is we have LFR, and
they don't
they
necessarily
could take them out, I guess, of LFR.
Yeah, they usually do. When there is, like, Anduin LFR, you don't have the phase where you have to stand in the black shit and go down and kill the ghosts. Yeah. Because, could you imagine trying to coordinate that in LFR?
No, again, I couldn't.
Right.
So, I mean, and even just all of that, like, I'm not gonna lie, during BFA, the goddamn Mechatork fight where you had to communicate, that was hell. Like, and I was in a raid group where I was pretty comfortable with people, and it was still.
Well, you had people that just refused to talk.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like, get the
right, and it made it that much more difficult because it was like, well, yeah, we have people who don't talk. I don't know. I don't particularly like that aspect of it. I think that feels not great because you're forcing people to do something to progress, and that feels bad. You're forcing them to do something a certain way.
Well,
and I don't like that. Like,
I know they should make things that are, like that, but don't rely on voice, because not everybody has voice comms, right? Yeah. It's like, maybe they should make it so that when you're in there, you have a button that says, "I'm this," and you put it out. You put it in chat.
That would be nice, or it would go to like your raid frames or something like that, and you could, like, you know what I mean, so people could see and
Right.
yeah.
That is definitely a challenge to overcome and all that stuff, especially in the reworking the UI, so you can move some of that stuff around so that it's maybe more visible, because we have ultra wide monitors and I have my chat in the bottom left, and half the time I don't look at it when we're doing
I
things
don't
because it's
ever.
out of the sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
But it's good to see that they're at least looking at, and like they're talking about, they do incorporate different things from add-ons into different iterations, and it's good that they're at least looking at that, and they're it's a rough thing to build around, because you don't want to completely block off add-ons, because then everybody's going to lose their mind.
Oh yeah.
But you don't want to make it so that that the add-ons can basically play the fucking game and you don't have to think about it, because they want these things to be, they want you to go in and they want you to work at this stuff, and so you get some sort of achievement when you do kill them.
To be quite honest, I think the fix to all this is to stop making raid bosses a fucking room fight. Like, why is it always got to be a small to medium-sized room fight? Why can't it be an epic scenario or something?
You mean
right?
kind of like the tank that we fight that goes into different rooms?
Essentially, yes. I mean, that's such an extraordinary fight compared to the others. Like, otherwise, it's a standing in the wrong spot simulator for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
And it always has been, right? And then I know they add little things to stuff, right? But it's always just the theme park thing, right? You go to this point, you do it in a room, right? It could be a big room, a small room, whatever. Like, it's still just a room, In this expansion, there's such a great opportunity to like somebody mentioned, I think it was Mr. GM, maybe, I don't really remember, but Dragonflight fights, like something different, something so much fucking different,
like the Oculus.
I mean, yes, essentially, but I mean, I don't like the whole flight vehicle clicky thing.
Yeah.
Just something different. I mean, I'm not trying to design it myself right now. I'm just saying, like, it's the biggest part about all these things is they're trying to do so much shit in a circle or a square, right? Instead of like the even the Cataclysm Deathwing fight, right, where you go fight on his back for a little while and stuff like that. It's so much different, and it was so amazing. Like, do that more. Right? Don't make it so overly fucking complicated that people have to create workarounds to get through it. Just make it an epic situation. Especially on some of these last fights. Like one, I think Anduin is, even though it's a cool fight, it's way too hard. It's just way too hard for where it's at. Like, it sucks, and I don't think it really should be, I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, they're always constrained to rooms. The concept of a raid boss always has to be this one thing that we all go do in a room to some extent. Like, I always imagine like epic raiding, right? So traditionally, when you talk about raid, I always thought pitchforks and people going and obliterating stuff, right? That's what I always thought.
That's what would be nice.
And now, like, WoW over the past 20 years has redefined the idea of what raiding is, right? That's built on, I'm pretty sure, EverQuest originally, which was literally take as many people as you can. Although I'm sure they changed that over time. But basically, like, big ass baddies, it takes a lot of people to take them down. The flip side is now it takes less people, but then they have to add complications to it to make it interesting, to add progression, right? Even their comments about, like, you should have to fight it, 5 to 10 times to figure out the fight to defeat it.
5 to 10?
Like, do you have to? Do you really have to, like, keep dying just to figure out the fight?
I mean, but 5 to 10
like, what?
Seems really low compared to what
I don't
we're
know.
on.
I don't know if
Andor.
that's the number they threw out. I don't know if that's the number they threw out, but like why? Why does it have to be that way? Like, why can't you just provide a situation where one person or two people fucking up out of 10, right, doesn't completely derail the process.
Right. Right.
Is that such a bad thing?
No.
Is it such a bad thing to be able to go in and kill a boss? I don't think you should do it in 2 minutes. I think these fights that take 5 to 10 minutes are actually kind of cool, but then they're so brittle, right? If you don't execute absolutely the whole time,
Yeah.
and boom, one thing's out, okay, you're done. There's no saving grace at all, right? And I think that's like, I don't know, put more shit in the environment, right? If there's, why can't a mage fire a fireball at a brittle tower nearby and have it collapse on the boss for some damage, or a hole, or somebody, right? Like something.
If you had to position a boss somewhere so that something would fall on them, how much people would.
Well, don't think too far into it, Jim.
No, I know.
There's always going to be caveats, right? But like, the idea is like, stop scoping the boss to be so mechanically difficult and give us funner, more epic situations to be in with the boss. Because at the end of the day, it's just a fucking raid. You're gonna get one piece of loot, maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Per boss, maybe. And chances are the whole entire time you're gonna get 1 or 2 at the most, right? Like, so in the amount of time you spend in it, really isn't worth it, other than the fact that this is the highest level loot you can get. Right?
Right.
So why do the same damn thing? Why trim down some trash, get to point A, trim down some trash, get to point B, right? Why do that? Instead, make an epic fucking environment to be a part of and do different things with, rather than stupid ass mechanics that are meant to trigger groups of people 7 to 8 minutes into a fight. Like, stop. Stop it.
They kind of did that at the beginning of World War, where you had like the vehicle stuff.
Yes. And it was almost impossible to lose. That was the cool part about it. The fight was still long because it had a big process.
Right.
But when you got there, if you could actually do additional damage to him before you even started the fight.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Give us
depending on how many towers you took out, or
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's something that hopefully that they'll look at with this next one, and the raids will be
even the dragon one, right? Cytherian, like you could do 3 dragon, you could do 2 dragon, you could do 1 dragon. Like you could go kill those extras, or you could just go in and just, like all of that is cool,
Yeah, give us some more like one boss raids,
like hard mode stuff.
Absolutely. I mean,
I guess they tried to do that with world bosses to make them like raid level thing, but that's not the same.
The world bosses are losing their flavor again after they brought them back in what? Legion? No, they were in
Legion is when they.
Oh god, they've been in the whole time, haven't they? No, Lich King didn't have them. Cataclysm
Didn't have world bosses. Mist didn't have.
Okay,
world
so it was
bosses.
Mist. Mist had the
Shaw
of Anger.
Yeah. Mist brought them back, so they've been around for a
while.
while.
It's just Pinata. It's just Papa Pinata at that point. Like, oh no, they had more than that. They had the big lizard dude too. That was actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
at the beginning of
big
Mist, I remember
dude.
that.
There was at least 2 in Mist, maybe another.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Plus you had the ones in Timeless Isle, but you had that one too.
That's a whole different story. Timeless Isle is just fantastic. But anyways, I don't know. That's my point. I think that's what irks me about. The only thing I don't like about the Sepulchre is how truly boringish it is in the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 fights. They really are. Other than the I don't know, what's his name?
Halicron.
Halicron. Yeah. Other than him,
60.
that's actually a really fun fight. But otherwise, it's just kind of the same cookie. And every time we play, I'm like, I feel the same way. I'm like, this is like, it's just the same shit over and over. That's why I was asking when we were going through the raid. I'm like, what are those big things for? There's like 6 of them, and we don't touch them at all. There's like no reason to go touch them, but they are red and fightable. Like they look like the little world
on the
crafter
on the
dudes.
other platforms.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them there, and like there's got to be something to that, right?
I'm
Like,
sure it's part of some achievement or something.
oh, some
like,
stupid achievement. Yes, because
yeah,
achievements are.
I mean, it's just like,
dumb, but
or it's just there to kind of show that, you know, this is an active thing. Like it's not completely taken over. Like it's resisting the Maw forces, kind of thing. You know,
Yeah.
even though you can go over there and kill it, like even if you went over there, even though they're fighting, they still fight you because you're still an invader in this thing. You're not supposed to be here. You know what I mean?
right.
So, I don't know. I had one last thing, and this is just like, just a little thing, and I was just scrolling through whatever, and I saw this tweet from somebody that said they were doing a project on elderly World of Warcraft players, and then they proceed to follow up with, if you play WoW and are over 25, DM me. And
Dang, we're elderly.
yeah,
Oh, man.
Oh my god.
Whatever. Most
I'm
people
sure
that
this-
are playing WoW at this point are
If
probably
you're
elderly.
over 25.
I'm sure it was a joke. I'm sure this guy's over 25.
Oh
you know,
my
But
goodness.
I thought it was funny.
It was Jim. It was Jim.
It was
probably.
Jim.
I'm not smart enough to tweet like that. You know,
That's hilarious.
I look at it for
Oh.
information on things. Which, let me tell you what fucking annoyed the hell out of me. Okay, I lied. That's not going to be the last thing. We were watching or listening to that interview on that Twitter space thing, and every time they said something new about what was coming up, whether it be, like Alex Strasser will say some like have unique things to say to Death Knights because of like them killing and raising the dead dragons, or anything like little tidbit came out. Within 30 seconds, Wowhead had a tweet and a link to an article, basically just verbatim what was said. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm like, come on. It's like, are you that like desperate for clicks or whatever to like, you get to like scoop these things? It's like, that's not journalism. That's just like fucking, I don't know. Anyway, and on that note, I just want to thank everybody for listening. We've been getting some, listens kind of all over the place lately. We've had some new ones from Ireland, Germany, and Finland, and whatnot. Thanks everybody all around the globe listening, and you can check us out at facebook.com/server-restart-in. Yeah, shoot us a tweet at server_restart. And thanks again for listening, and catch you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.